What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And today, we're going to try and be a little bit positive in this episode and talk about something that we like about the New York Giants, something that did impress us from their Week 3 performance against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, there wasn't a lot to like. The Giants lost in pretty embarrassing fashion, and of course, yesterday we got the breaking news. Jaxson Dart will start in Week 4 for the Giants. However, he will start with a pair of solid offensive tackles in front of him. That's right, Andrew Thomas returned to the lineup last week. He only played 28 snaps, but we expect him to play more snaps in Week 4 against the Chargers. And Jermaine Illuminor played all the snaps last week, as he has throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, and he's looked really freaking good. So we're going to go ahead and discuss the Giants' offensive tackle duo here, how Jaxson Dart is stepping into an offense that actually has a decent offensive tackle duo, which we haven't been able to say about the New York Giants consistently in years. So excited to go ahead and discuss Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor and the effect that these guys will have on Jaxson Dart. Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And how are you feeling about the Giants' left tackle and right tackle duo?
Doing pretty well, man. Listen, this is, like you said, going to be more of a positive episode, and I think that, in my mind, I think, Anthony, you and I know, this was a bridge year. It always was, no matter win, lose, record, this or that, there's still a very high chance that Dable, Shane end up getting fired regardless. A lot of these coaching staff members might. But one thing is for certain, we're going to get a very good long look at Jaxson Dart and what he does with this team. I do think the offense is going to open up. Their play calling is going to be more creative. They can do more. The screen game is going to be a big part of it. You know, some options, and obviously we'll see him throw the ball. He has yet to throw the ball, despite getting a few reps here and there. But here's one big difference, Anthony, compared to what we saw the Giants do with Daniel Jones and other quarterbacks. And the difference the Giants have with Jaxson Dart right now is they finally have two very good offensive tackles. Now, let's make one thing clear. The interior offensive line is still a complete disaster. John Runyan looked horrible last week. JMS has been bad. Greg Van Roten is hanging on by a thread. They have invested in it. It's just not been good. So, you know, there are liabilities there in the trenches, but we do know one thing. Andrew Thomas, his first action back, he looked damn good. If you watched it back, he didn't give up a single pressure. He dominated. He locked Chris Jones in prison. And Jermaine Illuminor, the same thing. Gave up one pressure the entire game. He looked fantastic as well. So if you're Jaxson Dart, at the very least, you know, pressure around the edges, not going to be much of a problem. It's the pressure up the middle. So we'll see how he navigates the pocket in that regard, but he should have time. The Giants' offensive line last week, that was not the reason they lost. The play calling, Russell Wilson, complete, kind of disaster with the kicking situation. There were a lot of reasons they lost that game. The offensive line, I don't think, was at the top of them, more so towards the middle. So, I'll go as far as to say that Jaxson Dart is walking into a situation that, compared to what Daniel Jones experienced early in his career, compared to what Eli experienced later on in his career, this is one of the better offensive line situations that we've had for a quarterback to step into, which is really bad, considering they are still below average. Let me make that very clear. Still below average, but still better than what we've had in the past. So I will go as far as to say that. But, Dart, I'm very excited about. I'm going, in my mind, clean slate right now. This is week 1 for Jaxson Dart. This is the start of his season. This is the start of his tenure. So let's start here. They're 0-3, but Jaxson Dart is 0-0. So I'm going to kind of try to re-shift my narrative, my perspective on this, and say this is really the start of the Giants season, because nothing else from here matters. It didn't really matter to begin with. They were always bridging this to Dart. Now the real future starts. So, I want to get your perspective on the offensive line and really how you're perceiving the takeover for Dart right now.
You're right. The future is now. It's Jaxson Dart season. The Jaxson Dart era is underway on this Sunday afternoon. And guys, if you want to watch us live react to Jaxson Dart's first start in the NFL, do make sure that you tune in for our live play-by-play and reaction live stream. We'll be kicking that off around 10 minutes before game time on Sunday. So, 12:50, hop onto YouTube, hop onto the Fireside Giants channel, and find us live and watch us do the live play-by-play and reaction to Jaxson Dart's first start. Now, Alex, you said some things there about the offensive line that I found interesting. Okay, I still think the New York Giants offensive line is terrible. I don't think this is a great situation for Jaxson Dart to step into by any means. I think that he is going in and he is going to be playing behind an offensive line that on the interior is just getting worked constantly. John Michael Schmitz, it's time for the Giants to admit they missed on that one. I don't see him turning things around. He's looked terrible this season. He's looked terrible every game in the previous seasons. John Michael Schmitz is not it at center. Greg Van Roten, his age is showing up. He does not look good to me. John Runyan Jr., has looked like a shell of what he was in Green Bay. And honestly, Alex, in Green Bay, he was an above average player. He was never a great or elite player. Here with the New York Giants, he's failed to even be consistently average. John Runyon Jr. this season, though, has really struggled. I know he was hurt last year, so maybe he's still getting his feet back underneath him. Seems like this whole Giants team is still trying to get their feet underneath them. Seems like none of them were prepared for the first 3 weeks of the season, but I'll digress off of that and just say what Jaxson Dart has benefiting him is Andrew Thomas re-entering the lineup. That's a benefit. Jermaine Illuminor has looked really good in pass protection the last couple of weeks. That's also benefiting him. But outside of that, it's going to be difficult. On top of that, Malik Neighbors didn't even practice today. He could be injured. Him not practicing today, Jaxson Dart, his first practice as a starter, that's a little bit concerning. But again, focusing back on the offensive line, Andrew Thomas does so much for this team. I mean, I'll even say this. When we watched that game on Sunday, Alex, Giants versus Chiefs, when Andrew Thomas was in the lineup, the pass protection across the board was pretty good. When he left the lineup, the pass protection across the board was really bad. I think that there's something to the continuity, something to the idea of having your best and most consistent left tackle, your best pass protector in there that helps the rest of the offensive linemen also stay afloat. Because when he left the lineup, John Runyon Jr.'s play drastically decreased while playing next to Marcus Bowe. Marcus Bowe had a rough game. There's no other way to put it. You can't really beat around the bush on this one. He kind of stunk in that matchup. I don't really blame him. Again, he's a fifth-round rookie. He's being thrown into the fire there. He played half of the game, but that half of the game, he let up 7 pressures, 5 quarterback hits, and 1 sack. Like, Marcus Bowe was really bad, but he is a rookie, and there's no reason to hit the panic button for that. 5th-round pick. But I just think Marcus Bowe's struggles really highlighted how great Andrew Thomas played. And the fact that the rest of the offensive line started to struggle once Marcus Bowe was in the lineup, I think it really highlighted the impact that Andrew Thomas has on not just the left tackle position, but the rest of the 4 offensive line positions as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw it last year before Andrew Thomas got hurt. They looked like a much different unit, and then they go down and everything obviously falls apart, and quarterbacking is hard when you don't have protection. Andrew Thomas elevates everybody. He's one of the few pieces on this team that he makes everybody better. And here's the thing, right? Malik Neighbors didn't do much in that game against the Chiefs, not because he wasn't trying, but because they didn't scheme him open. And, you know, if you're a receiver, you're a top receiver, and you're relying on a lot of other things to work for you. You know what I mean? You're relying on the quarterback to get the ball out on time. You're relying on the offensive line to perform well. You're leaning on the schematics to work in your favor. Like, there's a lot of different elements that have to go right for you to get the ball and for you to make an impact. The offensive line is the one position group, the one kind of unit there that every individual player, they are individually responsible for succeeding every play. You know what I mean? Like, half the time a receiver may not get a target. I mean, for God's sake, you have Darius Slayton get, 0, 1, 2 targets a game? He basically makes no impact for most of the game at certain points. Offensive line, you have to succeed every play. Because one bad moment, and it could be a strip sack, it could be a sack, a 3rd and long, it could be any like array of different results. Andrew Thomas, what he does to stabilize this unit is it cannot go, kind of underappreciated. He locks down the blind side for your quarterback. He gives your left guard, John Runyon, a substantial more support. He obviously allows the quarterback to feel more comfortable in the pocket, which allows the receivers to get more opportunities and the running game to open up. Like, he is probably the most important player outside of the quarterback on the field at any given moment, right? And I love Neighbors, and I think that he obviously is ultra important to this system. By the way, he did not practice today. We'll get to that, on the second episode of today. But Anthony, in my opinion, outside of the quarterback position, Andrew Thomas is the second most important part of this offense. And when he's on the field, the entire offense benefits from it. So what we saw in that first half, the Giants didn't look good, but he gave Russell Wilson opportunities. Russell Wilson was just not on the same page. The timing was off. The play calling was off. It was everything but Andrew Thomas. Having him in there for the first full game of Jaxson Dart's career, this is what I was kind of trying to say. And listen, Jaxson Dart, this is not a situation where he's getting thrown into a very favorable matchup. He is going up against one of the best defenses in the league. And the next 5 weeks for him, that's outside of the Saints, is the Eagles twice and the Broncos. This guy is going to get the living shit kicked out of him over the next 5 weeks. That's the God honest truth. But when it comes to Jaxson Dart, what do we want to see from him, Anthony? I want to see poise. I want to see confidence. I want to see discipline. I don't want to see him taking unnecessary hits. I don't want to, and I honestly, let him take risks. Let him throw the ball into coverage if he has to. Let him be aggressive. Do not hold this young man back from being himself, right? If the Giants try to robotically manufacture things, and look, you can build his confidence structurally, but you can't hold him back. You have to let him go. If you're going to make this decision, you got to let this man be the gunslinger that he is at heart. You cannot try to limit his production. You cannot try to limit his risk-taking nature. They have to let him go. Like, let him fly. Because they tried to do this with Daniel Jones. They tried to limit him. They tried to stop him from doing this and make him a robot. And look what he's doing now with the Colts. They let him open. They built this offensive line. It's not like he has like unbelievable weapons outside of Jonathan Taylor. They just let him go and they let his strengths shine through. They need to let Jaxson Dart's strengths shine through. Andrew Thomas is a really big piece to letting that happen. But so is the play calling. And, Anthony, outside of the offensive line, and obviously you can, build on top of that take I had, how do you think this offense is going to change? How do you think this scheme is going to change? Do you think it's going to be a lot different compared to what we've seen in the last 3 weeks?
In many ways, yes. I think, look, when you're trying to project how Jaxson Dart's going to look in this offense and how it's going to change, the offense has been very much a West Coast offense, right? That's what Mike Kafka's trying to run. That's what he ran, of course, or helped run when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have the best West Coast offense in football. And when you look at what Lane Kiffin did at Ole Miss, he started to walk back a lot of simplistic RPO offensive schemes and tendencies during those last couple of seasons with Jaxson Dart and started to implement a lot of old school West Coast football. So I actually think that Jaxson Dart I don't think the scheme needs to change so much. I think the scheme just didn't fit what Russell Wilson's great at. Russell Wilson in a West Coast offense, that's not really a good fit for him. He doesn't really throw the middle of the field well. He doesn't throw those quick passes well. He throws those deep balls well. Putting him in an air raid or vertical attacking system, yeah, then you're going to get Russell Wilson cooking. But in a West Coast offense that prioritizes quick release, short passing game, attacking the middle of the field, that's where Jaxson Dart thrived at Ole Miss, and that's where he should thrive with the New York Giants. And, of course, when you're running a West Coast offense, you are trying to mitigate pass rush. You're trying to get the ball out quick. You're trying to get all of these underneath concepts. You are going to run those RPOs. You're going to run those screens, and you are going to run a lot of slant routes and stuff. So it's going to be the scheme should help the offensive line, but also the offensive line, of course, should help Jaxson Dart settle into the scheme. So I really think this whole offense is going to change in the way that it looks just because of the personnel, but I don't think the play calling and the scheme is necessarily going to change. I just think it's going to look different because now they have a quarterback who actually fits this scheme. And again, I do think this whole thing was unfair to Russ. I think Russ could have succeeded in this scheme if it was a better scheme, if the play calling was better, if the offensive linemen were better, right? I think that Russ was arguably the least of the New York Giants' problems on the offensive side of the ball. But at the end of the day, he wasn't the solution either, and Jaxson Dart possibly could be. And if there's one thing that we know, it is that Jermaine Illuminor and Andrew Thomas have been solutions to the Giants' long-standing issues on the offensive line. So I'll just give another shout-out to Jermaine Illuminor before we end, though, and say this. He's in the final year of his 2-year deal that he signed. The Giants should work to extend him. Yeah, they should definitely give him a contract extension because he's earned it, and if he doesn't get signed now, when he signs a new deal in the offseason, Alex, it's going to be a pricey one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, also, I don't know if you just saw this, but good old Raji Goodell is trying to get the networks to pay up sooner than 2029 when he's going to elevate the cost. So what that means is that the cap space is going to skyrocket in the next couple of years. So if you're the Giants, you want to lock in your contracts early. I'd be trying to extend Illuminor. I like Marcus Bowe, but let's not let talented guys walk. With the cap space set to just skyrocket in the next couple of years, the Giants need to get ahead of these contracts. Illuminor is going to be over 30 years old, already is 30 years old, going to be 31 next year. Get him locked in. Don't make the same mistake they've made over the last couple of seasons, letting quality, valuable pieces to this team go. This dude shows up every day, no matter the score, no matter the freaking record, and plays hard football. You know what I mean? This is a player you need to have for your culture. He's a player you need to have to stabilize his offensive line, and allows Marcus Bowe to be able to develop and not have to rush into a starting spot and potentially fail. And maybe he even has the ability to cross-train at guard and become a guard. Who knows? So I do think that if you're the Giants, keep Jermaine Illuminor. You don't find good offensive linemen all the time, especially at this price tag. Give him $13-14 million per season. You have the money. You have $117 million in cap space in 2027. Push that cap hit to then if you need to. I don't care. This guy deserved it. He earned it. And once you pay him, he's not going to be looking for a second contract. So if you want to move him right tackle, Bo looks fantastic. You could take him. He's still making a tackle money. You could put him at guard if you want to. You could put him anywhere you need. So that's kind of the situation. If they pay him, he'll play wherever the Giants need him to be. So I think that's kind of another flexible perspective for Jermaine Illuminor. Love him. Great player. Just one of those guys you don't let go because you're not going to find a replacement so easily.
I agree with you. So a lot of excitement right now for the New York Giants, bouncing back from this 0-3 start, throwing Jaxson Dart in with the Wolves and into the mix as the starting quarterback. But hey, at least he does have a really solid right tackle and an all-pro left tackle when healthy to pass protect for him in week 4 and beyond. So we'll have plenty more conversations about Jaxson Dart, previewing this game for week 4, Giants versus Chargers, and having a larger conversation on Dart, Russell Wilson, and Brian Dable later on in our second upload for today, so do make sure to stay tuned for that. And of course, like I said, make sure to stay tuned for this upcoming weekend's live stream, live reaction to Jaxson Dart's first start. You're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Jaxson Dart.